Jessica Tarlov is a Democratic strategist, senior director of research at Bustle.com, and the author of America in the Age of Trump. She is also a Fox News contributor. Kristin Tate is a conservative columnist and author of Government Gone Wild, How D.C. Politicians Are Taking You for a Ride and What You Can Do About It. She also knows Steve Bannon personally because she spent 2 years working at Breitbart. So, Kristin, I think we should begin with you. Give us your thoughts on this back and forth between Steve Bannon and the president.
I think that Trump's comments, his lengthy comments, personally attacking Steve Bannon, it's one of the biggest mistakes he's made as president of the United States because it only risks him alienating his own base. Trump supporters, they love the fact that he's a fighter. That's one of the reasons he won in 2016. But now that the campaign's over and he's president, he's got to focus that fighting spirit and energy on pushing forward with his campaign promises and on fighting against big government Democrats, not on personally attacking his former chief strategist and someone who happens to be a Trumpism populist conservative. It only makes Trump look insecure and weak, and I think it could alienate some of his base.
But whatever the opinions are, Jessica, it's not unexpected. You know that if Donald Trump gets hit, he's going to hit back.
And he's going to hit harder. I think that's what they always say. It's not unexpected.
Right.
I don't believe he wrote this statement himself. I think we'll see what plays out on Twitter from his own account later as things progress. I've also been seeing reports that Steve Bannon is completely unshaken by all of this. And Kristin obviously knows him personally. I am not a top pick for Breitbart to hire, so I don't know. But I would imagine that he's just sitting in his office, chilling out, and it's just a normal day. I think that the president does look weak here. Some of the biggest mistakes of his presidency, I don't know. I'd put Charlottesville comments ahead of that, or the GOP tax reform bill. But I think it is a big mistake, and it's a distraction. I think it was also a mistake to tweet about Kim Jong-un in that way. But I would much rather talk about that policy than talk about this intramural business here.
I mean, I think
and I
Trump's
think you can probably
base
pick up
is
on this for her,
one...
Kristin. Well, just hold on one second, because she makes a good point there when she says, look, she doesn't know really what Steve Bannon is thinking, but she thinks it's a normal day in Bannon's life in his office. And let's face it, you go back to his days at the White House, and there was a lot of fighting between him and a lot of staff members in the White House. There have been numerous reports, Kristin, that he is still in some capacity advising the president. And at the same time, he is criticizing administration policies. So what do you think, having known Steve Bannon, do you think when he does respond, and he has not yet responded, what do you think his response to the president's tweet will be, or message?
Look, I can't predict that. What I can say is I think Steve Bannon's allegiance is to Trumpism, not necessarily to Trump himself, the man. So when Bannon thinks that, Trump is making mistakes or not sticking to his promises, he'll probably call Trump out on that. Steve is an honest guy. He's brilliant. I also thought Trump made a mistake in his statement saying that Bannon had nothing to do with his win. I mean, that's nonsense. When Bannon came into the campaign, it was a disaster. Manafort had no idea how to control a candidate who was so unconventional like Trump. Bannon came in there. He knew to let Trump be Trump. He knew how to connect Trump to his base. And when he was in the White House, Bannon served as probably Trump's strongest tie to his own base.
And in addition,
so
building
I
off
think
of that,
Trump
Kristin,
looks really bad right now.
Oh, well, I agree with that.
Go ahead,
building
Jessica.
off of your point, I mean, this is also par for the course for Donald Trump in disowning key members of his team. He says Paul Manafort didn't really matter, not that close. George Papadopoulos was the coffee boy. Now Steve Bannon didn't play a role, and I doubt that he'll do this to Kellyanne Conway, though the day is still young. I think that it also links back to the heat and the pressure coming off of the Mueller probe. We saw attacks about the grand jury over the weekend, or not, it was a holiday weekend, so just over the past couple of days, that the composition of it was unfair to the Trump team because it was too high percentages of African Americans. We know the comments from Steve Bannon about it being treasonous, that Don Jr. and Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort took that meeting at Trump Tower with the Russians, has got to have gotten under Donald Trump's skin personally, but also in terms of the Mueller probe.
And she makes a good point, Kristin, because you can separate yourself from the George Papadopouloses of the world a lot easier than you can the Steve Bannons of the world, because Steve Bannon is a major player in the media, so it's going to be different for him to try and get some separation between himself and Bannon, is it not?
Yeah, I think Trump's mistake today was in his statement personally attacking Bannon instead of focusing on issues or even the content of what Bannon said. All Trump has right now is his base. It's a very strong base, and if he alienates them, he has nothing. The Democrats, they already think that Trump is unfit to be in office. They think he's mentally unstable. And when Trump then turns his attacks towards a fellow populist conservative, he risks having his own base think that he may be unfit. So he's got to be really careful, and I would like to see him use his fantastic unorthodox spirit, really pushing for what he ran on, what he campaigned on. That's what his base wants. Look, I come from a family of Trump supporters. I can tell you they have no interest in Trump's squabbles with Steve Bannon. They want to see things get done. They want to see the wall get built. They want to see taxes lowered. They want progress. They want Obamacare repealed and replaced. That's what they're interested in.
I got about 10 seconds, Jessica, if you want to respond.
Well, I have no Trump supporters in my family, but I agree with what Kristin said. That's
we can all agree
I
today.
yield my time to the floor.